Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blank Canvas Show. I go by Cash Flow. Episode number 2. Like I said, each and every week we're gonna bring you 2 episodes, Tuesday and Saturday. Before we get into who we have on the show and what we're gonna talk about this week, we got to get some administrative things out the way. Make sure you go to the Blank Canvas Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you rate it. Make sure you save it. Make sure you follow us for all things music coming up in the near future. That's what I need you guys to go do. We'll be talking to producers, we'll be talking to artists, we'll be talking to engineers, we'll be talking about things that go behind the scenes like marketing and all that different type of stuff. We want to add some value out here while we share stories, while I swap story with other fellow artists, other fellow producers. So we want to get into that type of thing. If that's your type of show, then you at the right place. And again, if you listen to for the first time or the 210th time, because you're a former listener to Don't Sleep on the Couch podcast, that's the former name of this podcast, and you in the right place. So we got an excellent show ahead. Like I said, we got BLAQ CHIDORI, we have Bardo, they just dropped At Your Neck. We're going to be talking about some trends that we hope to change as artists in 2024. More recently, Spotify came out, and indie artists are going to be fucked as a result of all these changes. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we all are going to try to do here in 2024 to kind of just get the art back to where it needs to be and how it needs to be appreciated, so that myself, BLAQ, Bardo, could continue to do this music thing and feed our families by doing it, because I know we all love it. So without further ado, I welcome to the show for the fourth time at this point, BLAQ CHIDORI, and for the first time, Bardo. Welcome to the show, fellas. What's going on?
What's going on?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we good, man. How y'all feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's a pleasure to be here again. You know what I'm saying? It's like home for me, so.
For sure. Bardo, what's going on with you, man?
Excited, man. Like I said, I appreciate you allowing me to come on this platform. Very, very grateful for this experience. The reception for the album's been amazing. Just the last few months have just been a bit of a whirlwind, dropping 2 projects and now having this interview. It's just very, very exciting stuff. Very exciting time.
Dope. So, as I go into all these interviews, before we begin, y'all just briefly, introduce yourselves, where you from, how long you've been doing music, all that type of thing, so that, people kind of get to know who you guys are.
I'll let Bardo go first.
Sure. So I'm a producer from Calgary, Canada. I've been producing now for 8-9 years. So I started in 2014. I started while I was in university, produced the whole time, just beats for myself while I completed my degree. And then right when I graduated, I wanted to start branding myself. So I started off making instrumental tapes. I did 4 of them across 2020 to 2021. Started networking with new artists and stuff and really trying to build my brand and kind of build a base up from there. Was really grateful, to meet BLAQ, Patty, Know It All, really developed some amazing relationships and some really good chemistry with them. And now I'm really happy to say, like, these guys are like my brothers. Like, the music that we've created and that we are in the process of creating is super amazing stuff. Super excited with it again. Like, I hate to keep using that word, but that's really the reality of it. But yeah, like I said, just producing for almost a decade now and stuff, but really getting my foot in the game this last year. Like, honestly, like, I've been producing for almost 10 years, but I'm like a rookie, like one year really in the music game.
I respect it. I respect it. Yeah, I respect it. BLAQ?
Shit, you already know, what I'm saying? BLAQ CHIDORI in this bitch, you know what I'm saying? Coming out of 757 of Virginia, in the Virginia scene, at first, like, when I first really started putting my foot out there, because I've been making music since 13 years old. I've been making music since 13 years old. Started out like with like little SoundCloud shit and whatnot. I first dropped onto digital streaming platforms at the age of, I want to say, 16, 17 years old. And at that point in time, I was under the impression that you had to have some sort of like record deal or something in order to even get your music on streaming services like that. I didn't know you could really just do it yourself, like just straight from a phone, signing on to some distribution company, paying $10, $30, then boom, they put it out for you. So when I first started that, it wasn't like I was even as familiar with the business side of things, how the mechanics of the game, the politics of it, and all those other nuances, let alone that there was so many other artists out here now. From 2020 going on 2023, that's about 3 years really, doing this shit for real. I really want to take about a year off and really say two for real that I've actually been doing this. You know what I'm saying? I've met some amazing artists. You got Know It All, Patty, JR, even industry level artists and producers that I've got the network with, and it's just amazing to see even the Virginia scene expanding the way that it's expanding. Because at first I thought I was really the only motherfucker out here just doing what I'm doing, let alone that young. Until I met niggas like Unruly, you got niggas like Dred Scott that's out here. There's another artist named King Havana who's trying to make a name for himself as well. So there's a lot more that's out here. You know what I'm saying? It's much more to see. It's much more lively now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Let's stay right there with that, man. Where you was talking about streaming services, as kind of I was talking about earlier in the intro. What do you think about some of the changes to Spotify? And before you give your answer, I wanted to read off kind of just like some of the key things from it, so people kind of know what we talking about that's not hip to it, that may just be an average fan or listener that's not into the making money of it, and how unfair Spotify has always been, in streaming services in general, but you got to do what you got to do to get your music out there. So I'll read it verbatim, right? So Spotify will reportedly change how artists are paid starting in 2024. New threshold of a minimum annual streams that a track must reach before it generates royalties. So if you're an independent artist and you don't have a machine behind you, that's an uphill battle. Penalties for labels when fraudulent activity is detected. So we all already know about that, the bots, and we'll kind of get into that as a lot of that spilled onto Twitter this week as everybody was celebrating and stuff like that. So we'll get into that later. And then last but not least, minimum play length on non-music noise tracks such as white noise before they generate royalties. So fellas, for 2024, or hell, just moving forward in general, how do you guys plan to combat the streaming services and just the lack of payout?
Another kind of aspect that I always think about too is that like everybody's in different kind of positions, and a lot of indie artists and a lot of our fan bases too, not everyone has the money to go out and buy a $20 project every time we drop, and a lot of indie artists, they drop 3-4 times in a year. So now you do that, that's 60, 80, $100 you're spending on music. And for some people, they really do have to weigh like, can I afford this $20, $30 on this album, or do I got to spend it on food for the week or for my kids, And that's why I think streaming services, while I 100% agree the pay is despicable, we shouldn't be getting these fractions. But at the end of the day, if through a platform like Spotify or even somewhere like YouTube, you know what I mean? If someone who may not have the money to buy my album, they can still listen to my music and enjoy it. For me as an artist, like that's the most important thing, and that's why I make music. You know what I mean? Is to touch people, to brighten people's lives, to kind of give something to people, because that's what music does for me. And that is why I do think that platforms like Spotify, I'm grateful to have these things in a way, because I'm a little bit older than BLAQ, and I do remember a time where I would go to the store and buy CDs and buy that kind of stuff, and that's how you got music. But if you didn't have money, like you couldn't really access it, unless you were illegally downloading off LimeWire or Napster and that kind of stuff. So I do think that, like, again, streaming services does get you to a certain target markets and demographics that you might not have been able to get to before or in the past. And again, it's just about finding that balance, and like you said, training your audience. I think some artists that do that and have done that really well, RJ Payne, Olive Griselda, West Side Gun, Alchemist. It's another guy that really, really has that fan base, that super fan base that I was talking about, that every time he does a vinyl drop or a merch drop, sold out within 10, 15 minutes, but then he's still doing his streaming numbers, And I think, for me at least, that's the type of artist that I want to be. I want to have my super fan base that they'll buy my stuff. They can't wait to buy and have that physical stuff in their hand. But then I got the other fan base that is just happy to put my music in their playlists and listen to it on the way to work or in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that, and I'm with you, man. I wanted to streaming services to be the the secondary thing to where, all right, I'll get people to get on whatever cash flow train whenever they come on a board, but not necessarily be the only thing. You know what I mean? Because I just
Exactly,
think,
exactly.
I just think that we gotta, all find creative ways of doing it, whether it's you doing live shows and stuff like that. I think you getting on tour to do a live show, if you got the means to do it, bring your merch with you, man. Like it's as simple as slapping a damn your album cover on the front of a t-shirt, man. Sometimes. Like if you put it on
100%.
a hell of a performance, 20, 30, 50 was 50 times 20. I'm terrible at public math. But if they buy 50 t-shirts from you, that's $1,000 roughly, right? You know what I mean? If I'm doing the math right. So there you go. You know what I mean? You just made $1,000 off your album cover right there if you are able to do a local show. And you ain't even got to leave your state. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of time I'm on. And I know plenty of people on that type of time, but those are just some of the things I'm trying to do to be like, all right, Spotify, even not even relying on that check, not even relying on how unfair it is, but definitely utilizing it for what it's worth, man. So, Black, what are you planning on? Anything that you plan on doing differently in that aspect?
You know, as I spoke on before of you earlier, but it's really about, because I feel like as an artist, you have to understand that you have to become in you are and essentially will be, because you playing a game that this is about supply and demand. You understand what I'm saying? And so, you got to understand that it doesn't matter what the product is. You're essentially a hustler, at your core, or by nature, or by the definition, you're a hustler, because now you're operating upon a system that is dictated by supply and demand. So it's all about, number one, creating a demand in the areas where there wasn't, and then finding the demand in the areas where there is, and then it's of course about sustaining and maintaining the supply. You understand what I'm saying? But when it comes to that aspect, we're now talking about equity, essentially brand equity at that, because you might be known for your music, but if you're more known for your music, how are you then able to get other ventures off at the same time? Let's take an artist like, let's see, what's a good example? West Side Gun is a great example, because he got on as an artist, but people know him for his curations. People know him for putting on art basels and shit like
Wrestling.
that, wrestling, his other ventures as well, to where he's now able to sell his brand and the artwork. He's able to sell the artwork and the brand. And if you get to a point to where you establish enough brand equity and enough of a niche, to where your niche, your core fan base is there with you since the music, now your music is essentially selling itself, because while you're selling yourself and selling your brand out there, then the music is going to come with it, because that's now increasing the value of the music that's coming with it. Not a lot of artists really understand the business or are looking at it in that way, because you got a lot of motherfuckers, they found a hobby during COVID, right? And so what they did is they just got on the computer or got on their phones, signed up for DistroKid, and they think they could just drop like that and they good. They could just work with their friends and they good. They could just post a little linky link here and there and they good. That's not the fucking case. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you really want to start, doing what you need to do to increase the value of your art and your brand, start looking into grants. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever state you're in, whatever country you're in, start looking at grants that can help put money and funnel cash into this shit. That way you can use that, so you can start going on tours and shit like that. I remember when we had our single drop, I believe by the time Spreewell had came out as a single, what I did was I hit up mad radio shows, um, and things of that nature. But then what I did was I went and I booked myself to perform at a music hall in downtown Richmond. That way, then what I did was, by the time our singles had came out, I'm not only promoting our singles, but by performing them, but I'm even promoting the album by performing other songs on the album. So now I'm giving niggas a sneak peek as well. So by providing bonus content and different things of that nature, it gets people more interested. So I'm performing in downtown Richmond for the first time. Never been in that area before. All those people who don't know me are now sitting there like, yo, who's this nigga BLAQ CHIDORI? Who's, you know what I'm saying? Who's this nigga BLAQ CHIDORI right here? What's this music right here? But then they're looking at me. I remember before, as I was walking up the stage, there was a group of women that was sitting, they were sitting in their section. It was like a club section. They were sitting in their section, and one woman, she put her drink down and pointed and was like, "I knew it. I knew he was an artist because of what I was wearing." So what I've started getting into was more fashion ventures and whatnot, because I have my own website. You could check it out. It's called the blackprint.com. It's a Teespring joint. You could buy merchandise off of there. But what I've started doing was I've started, getting into making one of one pieces. Like, for example, this hat here, you know,
Same. Right here.
this hat
Yep.
that hat here, and then I got a varsity jacket that I just created not too long ago. And on the varsity jacket, it's got, custom logos, custom prints and things like that, to where now I'm selling both the art and the brand. You understand what I'm saying? So where that chick, she pointed me out because she's looking at my attire, she looking at my gear, she looking at my hat, looking at the varsity jacket, she's looking at the big ass Bathing Ape BLAQ CHIDORI logo on my back and whatnot. And I've posted pictures of this before, you know what I'm saying, so people can see that if they want to see that on my Twitter at the BLAQ CHIDORI, or on Instagram at GodMC BLAQ CHIDORI, to where she was able to recognize, okay, yeah, they called up BLAQ CHIDORI. I seen that name all over his gear, and how the nigga looked. He just looked like a rapper. He just sticks out from his appearance. So you're definitely right about being able to sell the art and being able to sell the brand, especially with merchandise, because people are very interested in that. I've had mad people come and hit me up like, "Yo, are you selling them hats? Yo, you selling them varsity jackets?" And I was like, "Nah, these one-on-one pieces." But seeing as how if there's a demand that's being garnered, then of course that will make me feel inclined to then start pushing at least something similar. I'm gonna keep them as one-of-one pieces, but I'm gonna give the masses something similar that they can then be able to buy into and whatnot. Shit, even merchandise as far as like physical presses and whatnot. Like I was talking with Bardo just earlier today. There's been mad people coming and hitting me up. Like I'm talking foreign people, like people in Europe and shit like that, hitting me like, "Yo, are you putting these on vinyls? You have to put these on vinyls. Let me get one." Da 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 da. And granted, we're not. We're gonna get to that stage, but it's great to see that there's that demand there.
Right.
And
Right.
about supply and demand. It doesn't matter what the product is. It's all about supply and demand.
Facts. Facts. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing with getting to that stage, but the people have to want it. You know what I mean? Like you got to kind of read the tea leaves and see who wants it. And I did my recon in just my immediate circle. They don't necessarily do physical music, but that don't mean other people don't. You know what I mean? This art piece right here, you know what I mean? That's from my first album. Somebody asked
Right.
me, could they buy the art piece? You know what I mean? This is just a one-on-one, so I didn't know at the time like what it would be, and I'm not even I'm probably 4 projects in between EPs and LPs, but it just now got to me, yo, make your own logo, get your own stuff, put your own hats, invest in yourself a little bit. And if people starting to see you look like something, like you mentioned, Black, in terms of just if you look the part, they want to support. And if it's something practical, and you don't even have to overthink it, man. You just got to do your research, see where you can get hats for cheap for the low, go to Lids or go to somebody local. You know what I mean? You pay what you want that first time, but after that, you live. It's like $14 a hat, a logo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you mean to tell me you can't do 5 of those and take that to the show, sell out? If you start slow and then build from there. Like you said, those one-on-one pieces, that's something that you want to rock or whatever, but you may just take off the back logo and just give it the B right here, you know, on the Letterman, and they may rock with that.
Right.
And go from there. So I want to stay with just this whole conversation with brand awareness and just and artistry and stuff like and who you guys kind of want to be in the years to come. But before I do that, man, if this type of conversation that y'all listeners out there like and enjoy, make sure you go subscribe again, like, share, subscribe to this on YouTube. If you're out there in YouTube land, go follow all three of us. Mine is at cashflow_83 or at _BK show. That's on all social medias when you're talking about the show and me in general for my music production and anything else that I'm doing. So you make sure you go follow me on that.
I'm trying to tell them, Hunt, I've been different.
Yo, Green, we got one, homie.
Greenery.
Time to take the cloak off, family is the bad guy. Woke up, aggravated on my bad side. Separate me from them, I am the franchise. Close circle, damn right, I am anti. Coming back for what's owed to me, been an OG, nigga, never was a crash dummy. Cash flow, nigga, you could call me